Welcome to Metaphysical Hippie Chicks 2.0. I'm Susanna Masseri, psychic medium and author of Living Beyond Death. My co-hosts are psychic medium Annalisa Bastiani and ET experiencer Terry Scalia. We focus on grounded, honest conversations about consciousness, mediumship, channeling, ETs, psychology, and modern spiritual culture. Thank you for joining us. Imagine, just imagine, you could communicate with anyone from history. Who would you choose? What questions would you ask? And what if you could receive the answers in real time? Today, we're joined by two captivating guests exploring consciousness from a very unique lens. Christy Levy is a spiritual medium who connects with non-physical intelligence, including spirit guides, well-known figures in history. And through her work, she helps people gain insight into their path, purpose, and spiritual journey. Joining her is Gary Temple Bodley, a spiritual teacher, author, and channel for a collective of non-physical teachers known as Joshua. Through his books and podcast, Gary shares practical teachings on the nature of reality and how our perspective actually shapes reality and influences personal growth. Together, they co-host the popular Dead Talks series on An Unimaginable Life podcast, where historical figures are revealed in real time through a fascinating process of clues and discovery. Today, we'll explore mediumship, channeling, consciousness, manifestation, and the intriguing stories behind their work. Please welcome Christy and Gary.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thank you for having us.
This is so great. I'm so excited to have you guys here.
We're excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
It's already been fun. I know. We're just getting started.
We should have recorded the first part.
I know.
Nobody gets to hear the back behind the scenes.
Oh, one of the things that I found on one of your Dead Talks was Terence McKenna and Aleister Crowley, where consciousness organizes itself through its resonance. Would you like to go into that?
Sure. Well, everything's vibrational. We are vibrational matched to each other. So we're on this podcast together today, right now. And if we weren't a vibrational match, we wouldn't even show up in each other's lives. So there's something that is interesting to us, is interesting to you, and that's resonance. So we're talking today about the subject. And there's millions of people who would not be interested in what we're talking about, because they're just not a match to this kind of thing. And generally, the things that make you not a match to something is fear. So in the non-physical, we all perceive us as one. There's no separation. So this is a planet or a platform where there's this illusion of separation, and that illusion of separation creates fear. But without that illusion of separation, there is no fear. And we exist with our personalities in the non-physical once we transition. So we might have been very fascinated with some concept or something about Earth, our family, or consciousness, or the evolution of human consciousness, and we would be paying attention to that, maybe be spirit guides for people who are working in that area, or just cheerleaders or something. So today, in our conversation when Christy brings in the dead people, they will be resonating with some topic that's either on our minds or the audience's minds, and we never know who they are until that time. Sometimes we ask, how long have you been waiting to talk to us? And they say, we were always going to come at this time. So it's not non-linear, but it's fun to see how it turns out. Yeah.
So the big thing I know as a medium, and Christy, you probably know, and Gary, you know, that in spirit form, there's no judgment. And from what I found in people that I have connected with in spirit, there's no fear also. And that this is just a really basic thing. And there was a part where it was said, discovering our fear isn't what we think it is. And limitation isn't what we think either. Limitation isn't what we think it is.
That's true. Now, so specifically Earth, we've found out, we don't know anything, but this is just through all these conversations, specifically Earth is the place in the universe that has the most intense illusion of separation. And so we forget who we are. We're dropped into this where we live in duality. So because the illusion of separation creates fear, we say good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, all that stuff. You know, we label everything. But we also want to know everything too, and we're curious. So without fear, then there is no fear-based potential. There is no judgment or criticism or hate or worry or even concern. It just cannot exist. In fact, there is no imperfection possible. Imperfection is only seen through the lens of fear. And without the illusion of separation, there would be no fear. So there's no illusion of separation non-physical, therefore there's no fear. There's no even wanting or desire or ability to create anything because creation is generated from a desire. So that's why we're here. We're here to have this exploration of what's possible when you forget who you are and you feel separate. And the evolution of consciousness is coming from that fear to love, from separation to unity. That's what we're all doing here. That's what we're all striving towards, even though we don't always know it.
Right. I agree with that 100%.
It's a tough place here.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough from a limited perspective. And so the work we do is to shift your perspective of yourself in your reality. And you do that through a mechanism that Joshua talks about called manifestation events. So the entire platform of physical reality is designed for the evolution of consciousness, or i.e. the evolution of your perspective of yourself. As you whittle away, discover and whittle away, or soften limiting beliefs, you raise your perspective and you move out of the denser realities of fear, and then the illusion of separation sort of gets thinner. You understand that underlying all this is unity, and that everyone is here for their own unique journey that cannot be had anywhere else. So one thing we hear all the time is, you don't know what that person's pre-birth intentions are. For instance, when we talk to Prince's pre-birth intention was not what you would ever imagine. He told us that his pre-birth intention was to explore a very intense and unique form of loneliness. And he would never have guessed that. But he explained that from his perspective when he was alive, he felt so superior to everyone else that he just could not create connections with anyone. Now, from his non-physical place, he realized there were all these people supporting him and all these people working with him to produce the records and the concerts and all that. It wasn't a one-man thing. But his unique perspective going through that was that there was just nobody else on the planet that was his equal. And that is how he explored that subject of loneliness, which obviously could not be explored in the non-physical. So it's a very valid and valuable exploration when you want to expand the consciousness. And he doesn't, not just for him, but for all of us and all of the non-physical as well. So his experience gets added to the tapestry of all that is, and now is available to anyone to understand what that loneliness would be like. But again, it's not the same as having actual physical experience, where we've been told many times that there is two things happening. There's a line to get into Earth, yet it is something that most souls would never want to do. So only the brave can really come here. And so when we get here, we say, oh, that poor person over there, they're going through that thing, and if only we could change this system and that system and blah, 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 blah. But generally we're doing it from limitation, believing that what they're experiencing is wrong or bad. But for the non-physical, what they're experiencing is exactly what they intended to experience. You cannot not experience your pre-birth intentions. They are going to unfold. How you experience them as a human, that's what we work on. You can experience anything in joy. In joy simply means, imagine there's a horizon line and there's positive emotion and negative emotion, positive emotion above, negative emotion below. Most of us go through suffering because we think things should be different than they are. But if you're curious about something, that's a positive emotion. That's joy. And so simply being curious, why is this happening right now? Or how might this be serving that person in their evolutionary journey? That sort of thing. And as you start to do this more and more often, you'll realize that in the moment, everything is neutral. Nothing is really happening. It's only when we project to the future or the past that we start to get out of that, and that's where fear strikes. There is no fear actually in the moment.
I had an experience yesterday. This is where I get stuck. Yesterday, I went to a doctor appointment downtown Seattle, right? There's lots of homeless people there. And I was walking up the street to go to the hospital building. And there was a young man that was sleeping on a mattress on the sidewalk that I had to walk around. And when I first saw him, I felt really sad for him and thinking it is so sad that he is in this situation, and maybe I should give him some money, or maybe I should do this or whatever. And then at the same time, I look at him through my spiritual eyes, like I say, and I see that this is the life that he has chosen to live for himself to accomplish whatever he came here to accomplish. And then I go through another thing where I feel guilty, not feeling the empathy and the sadness for him. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I make both of those things sync together so that I don't have that guilt, that I can still feel empathy for him, but also respect his journey.
And he did all that for you.
Yeah.
So he lived his whole life so that you could have that experience. So the answer is gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another layer to that too is really understanding what our emotions are. What Joshua and White Light and even prior to that, we both listened and followed a lot of Abraham Hicks. It was very interesting. And if our emotions truly are our guidance from our inner self, letting us know where our perspective is, how close we are seeing a situation or a person, how close we're seeing it to the truth of what it is, then our emotions give us that indication. So all we're ever doing is feeling something. You're feeling something right now because you're constantly connected to your inner self, your inner being, higher self, whatever you want to call it. And that inner self never shifts their perspective up or down. They are looking at every interaction you have in your life as absolutely perfect for you in this moment. So when you drop and you say, this is wrong, this is bad, I should be doing something else, then you feel guilt.
Mm-hmm.
But that is your indication that your perspective is low, far below that of your inner self. And if all you're ever doing is feeling something, then all you ever really want is to feel good. So you don't want the new car. You want the feeling you think the new car is going to give you. You don't really care about the homeless person. What you care about is how seeing them and what you're thinking makes you feel. You feel bad. Someone else feels bad, you feel bad. That's all you're ever doing. So if you can pay attention to that and then understand when you feel bad that you've now encountered some self-imposed limitation. I have just found a limiting belief. I don't know what it is yet, but that's a process that Gary and I do that he channeled years ago to help someone walk through and discover really exactly what that limiting belief is and then prove it false. Because if it's limiting, it's false. You're limitless. Your limiting beliefs are never true. So that's an interesting thing that you went through. You bounced your perspective around and you felt good and then you felt bad and then you felt bad and then you went, and I hate this. This guilt sucks. It does. Yeah. It's awful. But what is it pointing to? And that's the curiosity. Okay, this is happening for me. This guy's doing this for me. All of this is happening for me to show me where I'm limiting myself. And all I need to do is pull this thing out, go through this little process. I'll find it. And then I can prove it false. I'll feel amazing. And from that point, I might get an inspiration that would change his life. But sitting here feeling guilty, looking at him as wrong or bad, not seeing him as the sovereign God that he is, I get nothing. My connection to my inner self and what is out there is non-existent. But when I can see that he is God as well and hold that perspective and know that he's here for me, then I have access to power that creates worlds. And that's a much different thing.
Yeah. And so when you feel negative emotion, like you did, you instantly get urges to change conditions. Should I give him money? If I don't give him money, I feel guilty. Right? But that's not what's really going to assist or benefit anyone. What we want to do is maintain our alignment, begin seeing things as, well, what if this is right? And then from there, we'll get inspiration. And the inspiration may be then to give him money or to buy him lunch or to give to some homeless charity or whatever it is, or do nothing. But that's the power of all of this. How can we get to a state of being where we're more receptive to inspiration rather than acting on urges to change conditions?
Right. Wow. That makes so much sense.
It does. It's so deep at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
It makes so much sense, too, that Prince would play that out for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so while he was alive, he didn't know it, though. So that's the tricky thing, right?
Right.
And so we don't know what our pre-birth intentions are, but we have to understand that we can experience those pre-birth intentions in joy or experiencing them in suffering. And once we return to the non-physical, we will not care. We will think that they were perfect either way. But Joshua is coming here and White Light is coming to tell us that there is a way to expand your consciousness and live your life in joy. And that's what we call the unimaginable life. That's why the podcast is called An Unimaginable Life, is because when you get to this level where you've sort of reduced the pull of duality, where you're constantly judging and assessing and labeling, and you start to get a little bit more centered and your nervous system becomes coherent, then you go into these experiences, because our inner selves is always leading us into experiences such as this, where we have a chance to shift our perspective in the moment. Something may happen in the course of this conversation that I've never thought of before, and that shifts my perspective of myself. As this continually shifts, I move into these higher, lighter, easier, faster, funner, freer densities, where I see myself more clearly, and I sort of step away from the rigid beliefs of society, of my generational history, or of even my past lives, and start seeing things more clearly, and then experiences become unimaginable. And we've had hundreds of these unimaginable experiences. They're experiences that no other human has ever had. And if we tried to explain them to you, that it'd be very hard to believe, because they don't conform to anything else you've ever heard. And so Joshua has a very big distinction between what you think you want and what you truly want. And so what you think you want is always something you can imagine. I like a bigger house. I like the nice car. I like this relationship. But what you truly want is being led on this journey of conscious expansion in joy to become something you could never imagine. And so in my case, I had a very normal life, and at 50, I just had the overwhelming inspiration to meditate. And I never wanted to meditate before in my life, but I could not deny it, and so I sat down with the Abraham Meditations, and that's when Joshua came through. And 13 years later, here I am, living a life that is so much more adventurous and fun and exciting and meaningful and satisfying. But that person that I was at age 50, if he has glimpsed what I'm living now, he wouldn't have been able to handle it. It would be too weird, too woo-woo, and would not want it. And if he had seen this life, he would never have channeled a word. Yet every experience has led me step by step by step to this life that you can't even describe in terms of freedom and abundance and joy and satisfaction and relationships and just clarity. So that's what's possible for all of us, but we have to realize that we can't imagine it. And so how do we get there? It comes in the form of inspiration. Are we willing to listen to and actually take action on our inspired ideas? And the thing that pops up is fear. Every time you receive an inspiration, there's some fear. It's not the right time. I don't want to bother that person. I shouldn't be asking for this now. I'll wait until conditions are better before I act. That's the type of fear that we're talking about. It's not being terrified of something happening to you. It's this little stuff that seems responsible and fits with what people expect, that sort of thing. But we all know when we're living limited lives or being stuck, it's simply because we're not taking the action and we're not having these experiences that would then allow us to see ourselves from a different perspective.
That makes a lot of sense.
Wow.
What does Joshua have to say about the ego and how it's a running theme within the New Age community that we need to annihilate and get rid of the ego?
The eyes rolling on this whole platform is funny.
Oh, no.
Well, under the illusion of separation, it may make sense that you would want to separate yourself from your ego, but under the truth of oneness and unity, you know that your ego is here for a reason. Your ego is part of this journey. Your ego is literally here to stop you jumping off bridges, because without the ego, jumping off a bridge would seem fun. Mm-hmm. So the ego wants you to stay where you are because that's safe. The ego is designed to keep you safe. Where we want to go seems threatening to the ego. But if you can remember, you were given a bicycle and there was fear. What if I fall off? Blah, 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 right? And the ego is the one saying, you probably shouldn't do this, or be careful, or blah, 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 whatever the ego said. And after a while of doing the bicycle, you never heard the ego say another thing about the bike. Something else it would. Something new, something outside of your comfort zone. It will always show up. But once you have experience with it, the ego learns, okay, this is safe. And that's what we do with the ego. We bring it along. We say, okay, we appreciate you for trying to keep us safe. We're going to do it this one time, see how it turns out. And I promise you, if it doesn't turn out well, we'll go back to your way. And that seems to calm down many people's egos. Now, some people have really strong egos. I have an ego that doesn't want me to feel emotion. So it'll say things like, oh, don't worry about that. It's okay. They'll be fine. Whatever it is, right? So they don't feel it. So I have to actually sit there and feel the negative emotion. And my ego saying, no, you got this. You don't need to feel it. So my ego is a little bit different than a lot of people. We found that everyone's ego is so unique in that. But it is part of you. I think it's something you brought in with you.
Absolutely. I think it's part of consciousness. And why would you want to get rid of a part of your consciousness?
And you can't anyway.
For a reason.
No, you can't. And that
there's no way.
This thing that everyone is on, I know exactly what you mean, this ego death and annihilate the ego. Anything that we resist is going to just get bigger, including our ego. It's going to find a way to hide back here and then squirt out over here in a way you just never expected. This is not a repellent universe. It's an attractive universe. You're not getting rid of anything. You're not getting rid of your limiting beliefs, but you can soften them. Yeah. And it's comforting in a lot of ways that there really isn't a loss, although we feel it when someone dies or whatever, but you're not losing anything. So to me, that just the basis of this law of attraction and understanding that once we attract something, it's there. It's with us. We don't repel anything. And the more you do, the universe doesn't understand no. And the ego doesn't understand no. Yelling at it, no, die, go away.
Not going to do it.
From my perspective, is doing the opposite of what, so I got this idea a while back to just treat it like a friend or a child and say, okay, I get it. You're great. And you've really kept us alive. And I love you. I hear you. But I think this is going to be okay. I don't think everyone's going to ostracize me because I took this step. So we're going to try it. And listen, if it comes crashing down, we'll go back to your way and we'll go back to that identity and that image and we'll keep it. But let's try to not do that now.
That's what we tell people is to make friends with your ego.
Right.
Yeah. Don't treat it as the enemy. Treat it as your friend.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah.
If you want to live, it's been pretty good to you.
Absolutely. Do you guys want to get ready?
Absolutely.
You want to do a little talking to dead people?
Sorry,
guys, I'm pretty irreverent about it. I
love
always
that.
call them the dead people. Even when it's just someone's transition grandmother, I just talk to the dead people. So they feel very much like the same as us. They're not gone. They're right here. So
that's right.
Let's see what happens. I do a little scribbling and we'll see. For those of you who are very psychic, Gary will use Google and you guys can as I see things and what they give me. But sometimes if you're pretty tuned in, like I think you guys are, you can feel this and you may know, even if you don't, right up here in your mind, you know. So if you think that, you can feel it that way, just shout it out and don't worry about that. If people guess, incorrectly a lot. So we just kind of keep going until we get it. Okay.
And if a question pops in your mind, go ahead and jump on in. You'll have to, Christy's on a roll, so you have to sort of jump in.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. They go really fast usually, and that's different depending on the streams of thought, how they're giving it to me. It can move really fast. So, male. Synchronicity. Okay. That's a word, synchronicity. I've got like a lot of what looks like just handwritten letters. And I believe that the ones I can see, what I can see are to or from, but this isn't him. Freud, Dr. Freud. But these letters are to him and from him.
Carl Jung?
That's right. That's what it is. That was fast.
Well, I cheated. I Googled who coined the term synchronicity.
That was him?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool.
Awesome.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, Carl Jung. He's interesting. Like, there's an interesting energy, like his presence. If I really need to describe this to you guys because I think you guys will be able to tap into this if I can get it out. Imagine an old, I'm going to say ancient forest right after it rains. It's just really alive and you can't measure that. His energy feels like that. Like he's not interested in answers, but he's interested in questions that are like, give me something. Let me say this, like worthy of your whole life. Ooh, that gave me goosebumps. That's what he feels like. As if you can tap into it, it'll be great, and you'll be able to connect to this a lot better. So, all right, he's going to say something before I go to number 2 here. What does that mean? So the universe has been speaking to you your entire life. You just learned to call the language coincidence, or at least some of you, right? Okay, I love this. Yeah, he's going to let number 2 go. Okay, also male. Very different presence. Okay, all right, yeah, okay, all right. It seems like he has a connection to Florida, like not here where I am, but maybe Daytona. Is that right? That's okay. That's where he was born, I believe. Okay. So what is that? The travel inside, travel. No. Journey. the inward journey. Okay. Inward journey. He's saying, ask what makes you come alive and then go do it. Ask what makes you come alive and then go do it. Inward journey. That's important. The inward journey.
Howard Thurman.
Born in November. That's right. Yeah. Somebody just said that. Okay.
See, yeah, you're good at this Google stuff.
I like this game of charades kind of thing.
I know.
They've always done this. They've always, since the very beginning when I didn't know what was happening, I would get these weird things before I really knew that I had someone. And it's just evolved over, it's been maybe 5 years. Yeah, almost 5 years. So, yeah.
Okay. So he taught that the inward journey of self-discovery and spiritual grounding must pair with a deep commitment to social justice. He served as the dean of chapel at Howard University. He mentored civil rights leaders, most notably Martin Luther King. And
Wow.
He knew Gandhi.
Wow.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, he's got this extraordinary depth, right, to him, but he's not demanding agreement. It's really interesting. It's just sort of this invitation of remembering that I can feel with him. So,
and how do these two resonate? And
yeah. He's okay. He says, first of all, there's a voice within you that has never been frightened. And your life changes the minute you stop asking fear to imitate it. What? Talk about a description of ego. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so good. Okay.
Wow.
I'm getting that this might be a conversation about ego.
Well, I think it may be. I feel like they're going to be all over the place, but we'll see, right? So this is Carl, and he's fine with. Carl is fine, but he said he did have. You guys know Thing 1 and Thing 2 from Dr. Seuss?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, he was playing with me, and he said he has these two nicknames, and one is Personality 1 and one is Personality 2. And this is something that he does, and he gives them names. I don't know. We'll have to see what that means, but he's just been playing with me with that since he first popped in. So he says he spent a lot of time. Which way are you going to go? Okay. Spent a lot of time in his life just studying, exploring things like dreams and symbols and myths, and even coincidence. And what he understood at the time to be this depth of the human psyche. And he says people actually imagine or think that he discovered so many mysteries, but from where he stands now, those mysteries were really never hidden. Only your attention wandered. And he says he's delighted to be with us, delighted to be here. So that's fun. They don't always say that. I mean, I feel it, but they don't always say it. So Howard says in his life, he was known as a minister, an author, a teacher, and a student even. But today, the description he would say is that what he loved was listening to the voice beneath all the other voices, because that voice belongs to source, to love, to God, not to humanity, right? But eventually, he says, okay, slow down right there. Slow down. Yeah. So eventually, he discovered that those two things are far less separated than he once thought. And he says, it's a joy to sit with you. I love that. They don't do that all the time. I really love that. So, all right. They want to talk about especially like those of you, the hosts of the podcast, and even those people that listen have had mystical, profound, extraordinary experiences. And because you've tasted that, right? Tasted that mystery. They want to remind everyone that mystery really isn't a destination. It's just a way of walking. And so today, what they want to talk about is that how the extraordinary enters your life, not to persuade you that another world exists, but to wake you up to the depth of this one. And that's what they want to talk about. So every experience that is profound for us asks just one question. They say, what is that? Now that you have seen more, how will you love? That's what comes from every profound experience, if you will allow it. Wow, that's pretty neat. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, go down. Okay. So they don't want to ask anyone to believe in them, to believe in the connection, believe that they're here. It's not that. Because belief is they say it's a really curious thing, that it arrives a lot before an experience, right? And then it spends years defending itself. Boy, isn't that true, right? So rather than talking about our beliefs today, what they are interested in is our experience. And nearly everyone, they say everyone, certainly everyone here, but nearly everyone that is listening and will ever listen to this has had at least one moment that they could not explain. And it's a dream that came before an event, a feeling that prevented them from taking a road they later discovered was blocked or something. So a coincidence that's they say so improbable that it very quietly rearranged the furniture of their mind. Okay. So that sudden certainty, right? That someone they loved was, say, nearby. And though there was no physical evidence of that at all, right? Those moments, what they're talking about, like those moments are often like treated as interruptions to ordinary life. But what they would suggest with us here is just the opposite, that ordinary life is what interrupts these moments. That's the string, right? There's this string of life that wonder is really beautiful, but it also wasn't supposed to be a possession. It's a doorway. So if every mystical, profound, unimaginable experience leaves you more loving, more patient, more gentle with yourself, then you know its purpose. It's fulfilled its purpose. If it only leaves you wanting another mystical experience, it has become entertainment for the ego.
Wow.
Hence,
that's interesting.
Yeah. Hence
Wow.
Hence the
How
party trick.
do unimaginable experiences like this tie into one's perspective? And it seems like when we raise our perspectives of ourselves, we're more available to them. I always had this idea that those things were always happening, but it wasn't until like we start awakening, we notice numbers lining up, that sort of thing. And then the higher we go, we have these experiences that can't be explained, that we see, obviously.
Right. Okay. So they're going to start here. They're going to speak collectively. Oh, like if I can get it. Okay. So they say they want to start by relieving everyone of a burden that we're unaware that we're carrying. And this is definitely going to answer your question about unimaginable experiences. Okay. But just, they sometimes go around the ways. So they said the burden is this thing. I must decide what happened before I'm allowed to value what happened. They say no. That thing is one of the very interesting habits of especially the modern mind, today's mind. An experience happens, right? Something happens. And then immediately our intellect says, was it objectively real? Did it come from another dimension? Was it psychological? Was it extraterrestrial? Was it spiritual? And these questions, they say in themselves, aren't the issue. Those aren't the problem. It's the urgency, the need to solve the mystery in order to be transformed by it. Wow. Do you guys get that? Are you following what he's saying?
Yeah.
Okay. It's really deep.
Yeah.
Okay. So they say that, all right, the heart is very often or usually nourished, enriched, all kinds of things here, these words that they're giving me, before the mind has finished debating. So like a little kid doesn't really ask if this sunrise is objectively beautiful, right? They just stand inside the beauty of it. And there is a lot of wisdom in that. And they say, so from where they stand now, our humanity's arguments are, or it's almost like they're cute. What's the word you use? Endearing. Okay. Endearing. One person will insist like only the material world exists, right? And another says only the spiritual world is real. And there is just this existence that's smiling. And you're arguing over which shore is real when you're standing in the river. Okay. So this is all getting to, right? This is all getting to how these experiences are, where our perspective is in them, and then how we emerge from those experiences in this perspective. So there's their invitation, what they're saying is for those of us, especially like in this group, who have been, they say, blessed or challenged with extraordinary experiences, extraterrestrial, spirit, dead people, all these sorts of seeing energy, seeing other dimensions, experiencing in other dimensions, all these things, right? Don't let the experience become your identity, they say. Let it become your teacher. There is a profound difference. If your identity becomes, I am the one who sees spirits, or I am the one who communicates with famous dead people, or I am the one who communicates with galactic beings, or I am the one who has experiences in other dimensions, I have visions, then your freedom becomes tied to continuing to have those experiences. But if the experience itself teaches you a greater humility, which I find they do in an extraordinary way, then comes a greater compassion, then comes greater courage. And if that's what the experience does, then nothing has been lost on you. Even if another experience never comes, even if it never repeats. And so Carl is saying, because he spent a lot of time, what is that? On symbols, on studying symbols. And so he says now that definition can broaden. An encounter with a departed family member, ancestor, or whatever. A dream, something happening in a dream, a synchronicity of any kind, a luminous being showing up, right? Intelligence or an intelligence that seems just not entirely human. All of these can be approached in exactly the same way, with the first question being not what are you, but what has entered my life now? And that opens infinitely more doors. And that is the perspective that these unimaginable experiences can take you to, whether they are mystical or simply a moment of connection in a car dealership where you would normally be annoyed. A moment of recognition of something. It isn't just mystical, but they're using that because of this group, right, on this call. And also notice that the question isn't in that experience, what do you want, or what does this experience, what does it want? But why has it entered my life? What has entered my life, and why has it? It's the deal with perspective, they say, is about how you see yourself in relationship, right? Is not how you see the phenomenon. It is how you view your relationship to it. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Yep.
but I was asking, as we raise our perspective, is it more likely that we'll have more of these experiences? Are they correlated?
Here's what yes, it's correlated. But just like everything else, there are layers and layers to every answer, to every question. There isn't one answer. It isn't a graph that says higher perspective, more mystical experiences, although that is generally what occurs. But for one who has a different intention, different purpose in this life, the one or two or three mystical experiences that are hard to explain, difficult to explain, but that shift that one in the direction that it was intended and opens them to another path, another road. There's no purpose to it. There's no need to it. And it could become like a distraction. It isn't this always this way. Just because your perspective is high does not mean you will have more and more and more of these experiences unless it is part of your path. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I would have thought the answer was, of course, always yes, but they surprise me.
Well,
they surprise me all the time with that.
The second part of my question was, I had this idea that they've always been there, but I just didn't notice them because I was more in fear, especially about woo-woo stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was more wanting the security of a physical reality, this normal 3D reality. And so I'm sure they were happening. I just didn't notice them, or I explained them away, more likely.
That is true. So they say there are people like that, people listening who have spent years actually wondering if something they imagined or something happened was just something they imagined. And they say another thing they're pointing out here, and it really is geared to these beautiful ladies in this audience, is that you don't need to diminish an experience because you can't categorize it and label it. Nor do you need to enlarge it into grand, like, cosmology, right? Mm-hmm. Allow it to remain alive. And reality, they say, is under, I can feel this one. Reality is under no obligation to fit inside the architecture of your current understanding.
Oh, that's interesting.
How true is that?
I knew they get me like that. It's like, are you listening? Right. So I can tell it's like, this is coming, right? It just takes that whole thing. So that I get that. I certainly didn't believe in mediumship when I had my first dead person that I channeled. I didn't believe in it. I thought it was ridiculous. So boom. But so I do understand that is something to really get. And they say, so our gracious hosts matter here. And it's not because of your experiences, your unusual experiences. Many people have those. But what you're doing here is creating a space where someone else can say, I had this happen, this occurred, and they can express it and gain the benefit of sharing it, because as they do, it will shift how they love. It will shift how they see. But they can do it in this space without a fear of ridicule, without judgment, with it being embraced and enjoyed and experienced by you listening in the way only you can experience it, as someone's telling you. And that's the sacred act. And they said it's not because every story that's coming is identical, right? But not even that every interpretation is going to be right, correct. But because they say love here in this sense, it begins by allowing another person's experience to be heard before it is judged. And that is something that this platform, like a direction that you are going here, I think. Do you guys understand that, what they're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Sure. Yes. Yeah, please.
Okay. When you were bringing Henry Thurman through, what I was seeing, what he was showing me was this like large silver chalice with two handles on each side, something that might be given to the winner of a horse race, a very large horse race. I don't know what that symbolizes or what that means.
Okay. I can picture that. I'm from Kentucky, and I can picture that Kentucky Derby thing, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay. So that, and I think what they're saying is that was collective. It was not necessarily just Howard, right? It feels like it's collective.
Howard, yes, I said Henry.
But he's going to talk. Isn't that okay? But I feel like it was, all right. Just help me out with that then. He says he didn't notice that he didn't bring you a sword or a book or a throne. He brought you a vessel. And because every spiritual path eventually discovers the very same secret. The question really isn't how much light exists. It's how available is the vessel that receives it. And they're laughing. They say the psychic, or those of us that are psycho, for some reason, we always love the image of a cup. Like the grail, the alchemical vessel, the womb, the sacred bowl, right? It's like, we all love that. You psychics, you woo-woo psychics, which I get, right? So, no, they're funny sometimes, right? So across cultures, that vessel symbolizes this place where transformation can occur, right? It's not important necessarily what it's made of, but because what it's willing to hold. And that's it. And he says, notice that it's silver, right? It's not gold. Gold symbolizes often like glory and achievement or kingship, kind of, right? And silver is reflection. And like the moon, it doesn't really generate its own light. It receives light. And it, at the same time, offers it back. And there's wisdom, right, in that. And so most people beginning this work and doing this work ask, how can I become more powerful psychic, more powerful medium, whatever it might be. And he says the symbol for you is, the question is, how can I become a cleaner vessel? Not empty in the sense, he says, of lacking yourself, but empty in the sense of not insisting that every drop passing through must belong to you. The chalice is large because capacity expands, and it's not judged if it's half full. It just becomes able to receive more. And that is also true of love and of wisdom and of actual true service. The vessel does not belong to just the psychics right here, just to one or even to the group, right? It belongs to everyone. And for you guys to, in this podcast, in this thing, to every conversation, to every act of forgiveness and every moment of listening without needing to be right, that's a way of becoming a chalice through which something greater than the separate self can be given, can be shared. Thank you. Yeah, that's a lot. Okay. Woo.
We think about what's going on in the world, and Howard was really involved with civil rights. Can he tell us what he thought when he was human about the whole civil rights movement and how he sees it now from his non-physical perspective?
Okay. He's giving me a little chuckle about like what's going on what's going on in the world. And there's always, no matter where you are, there's always like something, right? Something going on in the world. And we always believe that we're on this edge where things are really shaky and really, happening for us in a way that it hasn't happened for any other generation, right? That is always what we believe. And in his case, he believed that as well, that where he was, that was it. He's going to bring Carl in on it too, but he will wait. So he was not only in this civil rights movement but it was also this religion, he says. And what he loved, the civil rights thing wasn't just about the fact that he says his grandmother was, is that right? Grandmother. Grandmother was a slave, and then she raised him. So there was that buildup, right, for him, and that was there. But his love of religion wasn't even the love of the religion. It was the language of Christianity. It was the teachings of Jesus. And then what it was for him was the silence where the soul remembered its source. And in that was born his belief in that equality thing. So it came from two angles. Do you understand?
Yeah, interesting.
Okay. So he says the greatest surprise for him and his perspective now isn't discovering that his faith and his religion had been mistaken, or that he had fought for something in a way that he half moved it forward and half held it back because of his resistance. He recognized that, and it was a surprise, but not the greatest one. What the greatest surprise to him and what he sees now is that love was never confined to the religion or to even the freedom. Love was in all of it. The love was in the oppression. The love was in the other religions. The love was in the not having one. The infinite, he says, had been sort of, as he say, waiting behind the door of some traditions, the religious tradition, the traditions in the Black community, his community, and the traditions of the United States and slavery and that oppression. Those things were traditions, just as religion is a tradition, is what he's saying. But it's not like it had been waiting behind that door. It had been walking through every sincere doorway humanity had ever built through all of it. And is almost, he says, is if I am saying that my religious beliefs, my religious fervor, my fight, what are you trying to say? It's a really interesting, it's like a march in the civil rights movement. It's moved forward and held back because of what he saw. But what he sees now is that it didn't matter. There was love in all of it. And when he followed inspiration, just as I was saying earlier when we were just talking, he had the power that creates worlds behind him. And when he was following his control and his fear, everything slowed down and moved backwards. When it was him alone, he had nothing. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Super.
Yeah, that is really, really, really crazy. Yeah. Wow. Whew. All right. Whew.
You guys have any last questions?
Yeah. So what, or both of them even, see about what is going on today? And I struggle with wanting to participate in the fight to make things right, or just to stand back and let it play out. And then here's the guilt again, right? So if I don't do anything, then I feel guilty for not doing anything. And then I say, well, if it all falls to shit, then, I'm partially to blame for that because I didn't do anything. But are we supposed to is this something that is just meant to happen, that we just need to let it play itself out, essentially?
Okay. So, okay, I have my idea of how White Light or Joshua would answer you, but these guys are usually very different. So let's see. So he says he wants to begin by saying something that may surprise you, that your concern is not a weakness. It's evidence that you love. And only a loving heart can ache a bit for the world, for what they perceive as hurting. Mm-hmm. So they would never ask you to stop that care. But they would ask you to examine the form your caring has taken. In their lives, they witness lots of things. Howard, he says, segregation, hatred, violence, oppression, war, fear, both of them witnessed all sorts of things. And there were moments when it appeared that humanity had actually forgotten itself entirely. And many, many people believe they were living in uniquely terrible times, which is in your vibration right now, that they are. I mean, they're reading this in your vibration. Humanity has always been standing on the edge of becoming. Don't forget that. Mm-hmm. The appearance changes, but the invitation doesn't change. Every generation secretly believes it has inherited history's greatest crises, right? There's something very human about this. And we experience the present moment with this extraordinary intensity. And we can't remember that previous generations also believed the world was ending. And they're not diminishing your concerns. They're trying to restore your perspective. There exists suffering. There exists injustice. There exists fear. These are real human experiences, but they are not the whole story. Love doesn't make the evening news, right? Quiet courage never really trends on social media. And these things are happening all of the time. And they're happening constantly and far more than the things that you are speaking about. Mm-hmm. But there's something even deeper. And when you ask that question, what it is, they're going to put about it is like, what is happening to the world? What is happening? And what should I do? What can I do? And they say, why not look at it this way and say, what is becoming visible? that was previously hidden? That is not the same question as the one you're asking. A lot of what appears to be increasing darkness is, in fact, previously unconscious material becoming visible into consciousness collectively. If you clean a dirty basement or an old attic or something like that, it looks a lot dirtier once you get going with it. Not because you created more dust, but because you disturbed what had been not noticed, right? That's the image, or that's the thing that they're giving me. So many people will interpret this kicking up of the dust as something going wrong, as a failure. But it's just evidence that the house is being cleaned in this area. Carl says he spent some time, he must talk about the shadow. He's doing this whole shadow. He's very funny. Shadow thing, right? And we have one individually, and cultures and civilizations have them as well. And when the collective shadow begins to surface, it's alarming. And there is something important, is that what remains unconscious is this subtle control that we're unaware of, and what then comes out and begins to surface, right? What becomes conscious, you can finally relate to. So again, now after hearing that, you don't have to ask the question, how do I stop being concerned? It's your question for you specifically. This is very specifically you. Can I remain rooted in love while witnessing what fear is revealing? That is a very different way of standing in the same movement. Do you understand?
That's beautiful.
Yes, okay. I do understand. So it's like I need to stand rooted in love, knowing that the light is now being shined on the injustices. I'm also feeling like this is generational trauma being played out in very strong ways. And because we're not fixing some of the generational trauma as we go gets fixed, but so much of it is now so big that it's almost like the visualization that I got was a pimple getting ready to pop. So it's like the generational trauma is it's time to get this massive, to let the pressure out, essentially.
And what they say is that for all of us, is relaxed. There's no urgency. Everything is right. Everything is perfect. Mm-hmm. Everything is being experienced by everyone as they designed it to be. Mm-hmm. There is no one experiencing something that is not intentional or that they are not equipped to experience. Every possibility along their path, they are fully equipped for. There are infinite possibilities of experience along our path. What they say is that this understanding where our work goes, which is that the perfection and the right in everything, and to keep understanding that does not mean escaping our world because we've woken up, right? It's the opposite. Is this awakening and this work that we are doing allows us to participate in the world without becoming possessed by it. And to understand that we cannot offer peace if we abandon our own. Mm-hmm. And we can't become light by constantly focusing on something that we see as dark. We have to begin to see that everything is light and everything is love, no matter what. And only then is our presence impactful, is our presence commanding. Then we become steady, compassionate, and available. And that's the real power of it.
Wow, that was great.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Christy,
I'm out.
It wipes her out, and especially when it's something intense like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that was really good. That was really good. That put it back into perspective for me.
And the fact that you said that's so interesting that there are so many things that are not because it's not the squeaky wheel. It's not going to get the oil.
Yeah.
And you're not going to hear about it or see about it on social media, and how the internet and social media has completely kind of absconded with the narrative to make it more exciting or more dangerous than it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of puppies and kitties on social media.
That are cute.
Right?
Oh, yeah, I watch them all the time.
Me too. I watch the
them.
kids all the time.
I do, me too.
All the time.
Yeah, it's really good. That was interesting. They were, I don't know what they were all over the place. I don't really know what
it
we
was
were
great.
talking
No,
about.
that was
Yeah, it was
great. That was beautiful.
It seems like it to you, but to us, it was amazing.
Yeah, it feels like writing.
We followed it was easy to follow. That wasn't like
Yeah, no, it was perfect.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was perfect.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
were a
such
I
a
need to put
great.
my glasses on so I can see.
There were a couple T-shirts we could make out of some things that were said.
some of those phrases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Merchandise.
There were a couple of things they said. There was one they said that they grabbed almost like, we're like, get ready, right? Are you listening? And then gave it. I remember what it was. I really don't remember, but it was really good, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything was really good. Everything was really good. I got a lot out of that for my own personal stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was just amazing.
Thank
That's
you,
what these
guys.
TED Talks are. Is like, and then each week it gets like another level, and you're like, oh my god, that was mind blowing. I never thought of it that way. And then the next week, two more people come in,
Something
and it's
more.
another level, just like that.
Yeah. I wish I could take credit for it because I would be brilliant. People would think I was so brilliant, but everybody that knows me, they're like,
about
okay,
party
she
trick.
is definitely not.
Yeah.
That's definitely something else. She ain't coming up with that stuff on her own. I'd like to take credit though. Yes, that was my idea. Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Well, I guess I better get going to back to the hospital tonight.
That was amazing. How can people get in touch with you guys?
They can listen to the An Unimaginable Life podcast or the Joshua Live podcast. That's me channeling Joshua, or TED Talks on Unimaginable Life. You can go, and in fact, if you'd like to get Joshua's first book in audiobook form, A Perception of Reality, that will sort of explain the mechanism of physical reality and what we're talking about here today, they can get it free on theteachingsofjoshua.com. Just go under books and use the coupon code GaryFree, all lowercase, one word, and they can download that for free. And then Christy's website is christylevy.com.
Can I just say the Unimaginable Life has the best intro ever?
Yeah.
So that was us.
That was us trying to do an intro and we couldn't, so that's what we went with.
I know, it was great. It caught me up the first couple of times.
Yeah.
So funny.
We were like going to change words, So you say
One.
welcome. I'll say chill. You say and unimaginable life.
Terrible.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Fun.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks so much for having us on. This is great.
Oh, it's been
Yeah,
wonderful.
thank you guys.
Thank you so much for being
Fantastic.
That was very, very, very good.
Thank you. It was great to meet you guys.
here. Yeah, it was
You
nice
too.
to meet you too.
And thank you for your service to humanity.
Yes,
Most definitely.
absolutely. We're all in this together.
That's
Yeah,
right.
man.
We're doing our little part.
Mm-hmm.
Fire up the grill and let's roast some marshmallows.
Sing
I want
Kumbaya.
s'mores.
Yes, some
S'mores,
more.
no,
There you go. Oh, Lord. All right. Well, if you have enjoyed this episode, it was wonderful, so enlightening. Please follow them, Gary and Christy. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all your other favorite platforms, including YouTube. Stay curious. Enjoy life. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.